In lesson 2.18, you'll finally be putting together all the different elements that you've learned regarding one's daily routine, how to tell time, the 13 different daily routine activity verbs that you've learned, the ability to conjugate those verbs, time expressions such as the days of the week, or Monday through Friday, or weekdays or weekends, that sort of thing. All of that information will be put together to convey to someone else your own daily routine, as well as to listen to other people tell you about their daily routine. And then finally you'll talk about the things you wish you could change, the things you like about your schedule each week, the things you dislike about it, and what you would change if you could. And so in order to convey all that information to a listener, you need to have a form of some kind in which to record your daily and weekly routine. And therefore, that's what this form, the purpose of this form serves right here, is to gather all that information and keep it in one place so you don't forget as you're talking about the details of your life. So this form, as you can see at the top, lists 1 through 5. Those are the weekdays. Like in many cultures, the first day of the week is considered Monday and not Sunday. And so Monday through Friday are 1 through 5. And then you see separated off with a different set of times, and I'll explain why in a moment, is Saturday, and the same for Sunday. This is because Saturday and Sunday almost invariably have different activities than what you do Monday through Friday. And in many cases, Monday through Friday, you'll be doing the exact same thing on a daily basis. And therefore, just inserting arrows, as you'll see in a moment, will allow you to avoid having to copy all this information into each day when you're doing the same thing every day. So you see it extends from starting at 5 o'clock in the morning if you get up that early, extends down to midnight if you stay up that late. And so let's go take a look now at a form that I've started to fill out as an example for you. Here you see my weekly routine record with the weekdays completed. Now a couple of comments for you as to how to fill this out in a way that won't be too time consuming. First of all, and also which is reasonable because you can't write entire sentences within these cells in this spreadsheet. All you're going to do is put a single word in your native language or a couple words in your native language to remind you of an activity. For example, you see here at 5 o'clock on Mondays, I wrote down here, wake up, the first activity I do, followed by somewhere between the 5 and 6 o'clock hour. You see, you only have hours listed here. You don't have like 5:15, 5:26, etc. If you wanted to insert that information into the cells, you could. But otherwise, just generally speaking, between 5 and 6, I wake up, and then it says here, office work. That reminds me that I go into my office, I start working on lessons that I'll use in the course of the day, or I'll be working on in the course of the day. And then at 6 o'clock, it says devotions. I'll read the Bible at that time. Clean up, and clean up, of course, is a generic term for lots of activities. So when you actually give your talk, when you convey your daily routine or your weekly routine to other people, you want to go into much more detail than simply using the verb to wash or to clean up. You're going to want to say, you take a shower or you take a bath, you comb your hair, you brush your teeth, you shave, for example, if you happen to shave, etc. Those kinds of activities. And then it says, last of all, there, breakfast, to remind me that I eat breakfast. So you're not going to write in the blank. You're not going to write, I have breakfast at 6 o'clock, or whatever the time happens to be. You're going to just put the word breakfast in there. And as you're giving your talk, you can refer to this sheet, whether it's on a hard copy, whether it's on the screen of your computer. You can refer to the sheet, and seeing the time listed next to it, it'll remind you more or less when this activity takes place, sometime between 6 and 7 o'clock. You see at 7 o'clock I put down animals. I go outside and feed the animals, and our dogs and cats. And it says office work again, so I go back into the office. And you notice that at 8 o'clock I just put office work. So the office work began there. I don't keep feeding the animals all day long. They can fend for themselves. But the office work is going to continue throughout the course of the daylight hours. And so I put an arrow to indicate that really starting at 7 o'clock or 7:30 more or less, and extending on down to noon, I'm just doing the same activity. If you have a hard copy, you can just with your pen or pencil draw an arrow so as not to have to repeat, keep writing the same information in each cell. Or if you're working on the computer, you can insert an arrow into your spreadsheet. And then it says at lunchtime, it says, or actually I should say at noon, it says lunch and Scrabble. I play part of a Scrabble game with my mother that I'll probably continue later on in the day. And then at one, notice I have the 1,300 hours. This is just because in many cultures, as you know, when you have a schedule listed, you're going to be using what we call military time, which is the 24-hour system. So I went ahead and used it here too. You see the office work begins again. I go back to creating lessons, curriculum in my office. I put the arrow down to show that until 4 o'clock, I do the same thing. I move outside for outdoor work at that point, and I put an arrow to show that until 6 o'clock, I continue doing outdoor work. And then at 6 o'clock in the evening, we have dinner. After dinner, I'll do the dishes. So when I give my talk, by the way, it says for 6 o'clock, dinner and dishes. Of course, the two don't happen simultaneously. And so I would say, if I were speaking in English, I would say we have dinner at 6 o'clock, and at 6:30, I wash the dishes. So I might insert at that point a more precise time for the second activity. And then it just says it says family time. I guess I was too lazy to put an arrow in here, but from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock, family time. And then it says read and go to bed sometime between 9 and 10 o'clock. And then you notice, since I happen to be a creature of habit, and my routine doesn't vary really from Monday through Friday, so as not to have to write all this information over again in each, or even to copy it over in each of these different cells, I just put an arrow straight across, showing that Monday through Friday the same thing happens. And then if in Saturday, if I were to fill it out, of course I would have different information there, because my schedule changes, and the same with Sunday. Let me just give you an idea, therefore, of what this would sound like if I were giving the talk in English. Let's say I'll just take the 5 o'clock hour. I would start with, from Monday through Friday, I wake up at 5 o'clock. I go downstairs, I enter my office, and at 5:15, I'll just throw a time in there, at 5:15, I start to work in my office. I create lessons, I create curriculum. From Monday through Friday. Now at this point, the from Monday through Friday is going to start to get old. You really don't need to say it more than once or twice, and your listener will understand that you're talking about every day of the week. All these activities are the same. And so I'll say, from Monday through Friday, I read the Bible when I get up in the morning, or after I've worked in the office a little bit, and then at 6:30 I go upstairs, I take a shower, I brush my teeth, I comb my hair, I put on shaving cream, I shave, and then of course I get dressed. And then at about 6:45 I have breakfast. And then at 7 o'clock, and now here I wouldn't say from Monday through Friday, because by that point I've got the point across. Now if there's something within your schedule that one of those days of the week is different, then of course you're going to express that. Let's say, for example, on every Wednesday evening, we go and have dinner at church, which sometimes is true. I could say on Wednesdays, so think of how the expression would be said in the language that you're learning when you're talking about every Wednesday of the month. I would say on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock, we go to church and have dinner, and we return home at whatever the time happens to be. Okay, hopefully you've got the idea. You can see, by the way, again, that it goes from 5 o'clock down to midnight. If anything happens between midnight and 5 o'clock, we won't know about it. Okay, I hope that's a helpful reference form for you, some way to help you remember as you're talking what the activities are in the course of your week. That's why you have it there. It's so that you can. It's not in the target language. It's not in the language you're learning, because we want you to speak spontaneously, speak extemporaneously, not in essence read something you've already written. So it should be in your native language, not the native language you're learning. But it's there so that you don't freeze up when you're in the midst of giving a talk, maybe a graded talk, an oral presentation, because that can happen when you're under pressure, and you can suddenly forget the most basic things about your daily routine. So this form hopefully will be helpful to you. Okay, that's it. You may now go into lesson 2.18. Download this form, fill it out on the computer, or make a hard copy and fill it out by hand, and then go ahead and perform the activities that will be using that form. See you soon.